Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations. Today we're going to take a look at how to create plaid backgrounds using Plaid Builder stamp sets. I have two here, Concord and Ninth Happy Plaids and Paper Tray Inks Plaid Builder stamp set. And I have a couple of really quick tips for you, and then I'm going to play a little bit of music while I just build the plaid background, and I wanted you to see all of it. So the first tip I have for you when you're building plaid backgrounds is that to use Versamark ink on your stamps. And this is why. Because when you stamp it the first time, those are really solid images, and it's kind of grody stamping. I mean, it's grody. Who uses that word anymore? I guess I do. But it's not really great stamping. The solid images kind of skip. The ink kind of sets up there a little bit. And as we know, photopolymer stamps do work better the more times that you use them. So ink it up with Versamark ink, stamp off once, and then ink up your stamp. I don't like using a MISTI to create my plaid backgrounds. I'm going to link to a Jennifer McGuire video, and she does a plaid background where she uses her MISTI, and I'll link to that over on my blog. But I like to freehand them because I can use a lined stamping block and my mat, the grid line on my mat, to line everything up. And I like doing it this way. It gives me more freedom, I think, and I can go back and restamp it if I need to, just looking straight through and down the block. My head gets in the way a little bit. Now I apologize for that. So I'm going to play a little bit of music while you watch me finish building out this stamp. Oh, wait. One thing that I do before, as mentioned over on my blog, is I will take and stamp this out over on a scrap piece of paper and just kind of figure out which lines that I want to use first and which lines I want to maybe remove from it. I made a really busy background, but I absolutely love it. They don't have to be perfectly aligned. You don't have to use a ruler or anything like that. Eye it. Just stamp it and eye it. Don't worry about whether or not it's perfect. It will still be beautiful, I promise. My other really quick tip before I finish up my plaid is these are long stamps, and most of them are kind of skinny, and they will wiggle around on you, and trying to make them straight on a block is kind of a nightmare sometimes. If you put them stamp side down on your mat and pull them across, they will actually straighten out fairly easily. So just keep that in mind, and then you can line it up on your block and it will be almost perfectly straight. So I'm going to play a little bit of music, and then I'll come back towards the end and tell you how I finished up my card, and I'll see you in a few. All right. So we're finishing up going ahead and building this plaid black background here. And I did do heat embossing on my last really skinny lines. If you want to do heat embossing, it's absolutely perfectly fine. I will say, be sure that your background panel is dry. You can heat set it or you can let it air dry. I did not let mine dry long enough, and some of the black was still wet. So you'll see here in just a second where some of my black becomes a little heat and has a little heat embossing powder on it, which is absolutely fine. It still looks great, but I wish it had been a little bit cleaner, but that's okay. So just make sure that you either heat set your panel or let it air dry completely, because you are putting a whole lot of ink on that panel. Now, the next thing that I went ahead and did was I did trim down my panel with a A2 stitched frame from MFT. I think I did like the third largest one, and trimmed it down because I wanted a white border around my panel. And I adhered that flat to a top folding note card, and I'm using Neenah Solar White 110 pound for my card bases, and the panel was stamped on 80 pound Neenah Solar White. I'm using microfiber cloths more and more. I do like them a whole lot better because you can throw them in the wash, and I actually do need a couple more. They have enough texture on them that they clean up glitter, they clean up stray embossing powder, they clean up absolutely everything, and you don't have to worry about filling up your trash can with them. And if you get ink or anything on them, of course, they just wash right off. So I trimmed my panel down, and I adhered this flat to my card base. I didn't pop it up or anything because I was going to put a sentiment on top of it. And the sentiment that I am using is Hugs from from Pink and Main. I love Pink and Main. Pink and Main dyes have they're pink. All of their dyes are pink, which I absolutely stinking love. They're just so cute. But their Hugs stamp set, die set has the shadow behind the word as well. I die cut the word from the main sentiment word, Hugs, from white cardstock, 80 pound Neenah Solar White 3 times, and I use a Platinum 6 die cutting machine, and I have pre-cut my panels down, and I will actually pull out a stack of the cardstock that I have cut down already here in just a second, so you can kind of see what I do. But I'm going to stack all of these up, and I do use liquid glue to stack up my sentiments, and right now I am still using the Zig 2-way glue for sentiments like this. It just works really, really, really well. If you have problems stacking up sentiments that you can't get them aligned, start with the middle of the sentiment. So on this one, I would start with the U and align that, and then the rest of the word will fall into place very, very, very easily. The one thing that I run into a whole lot that drives me insane is that I can't match ink colors and cardstock. I have so much cardstock, as you can see, that I have pre-cut, and I like to get as close as I possibly can to it. And most of the time, I will find something, and I don't have my cardstock labeled, unfortunately. I had a ton of cardstock that I've had for years and years and years, and I just will pick a color. I just cut a whole bunch of it down, and I'll pick a color, and that's where it's going to be. So I cut the background shadow die out, and I'm going to stack up my sentiments. See, isn't that pink just absolutely stinking adorable? I love that. Don't ask me why that thrills me, but it does. It just absolutely thrills me. And I apologize if my voice sounds a little off. I've had a cold for a little over a week, and today's the first day that I've actually been able to to do voiceovers for my videos in a little over a week now. So to line up that U in the middle, and then the rest of it will fall into place pretty easy. Don't fret over this. If you have a hard time doing stacked sentiments, then try doing adhering a piece of cardstock to fun foam and try it that way. I just really like the look of stacked sentiments. It brings something else to the dimension of the card. So definitely give that a try. Now I will say that I added a couple things after the video for the card. I added another sentiment across hugs, which reads, "Thought you could use some in hugs." And I believe that is from a Pink and Main sentiment set as well. And then I added some white Nouveau drops scattered across the front of the card. And it just brought everything together, and that will be in the photos here in just a second. Thank you for bearing with me of getting my groove back on with making videos and things over here on my YouTube channel for Jill Cameron Creations. And please don't forget to hit subscribe and like my channel, and head over to my blog for more information on how to create plaid backgrounds. And also there is the list at the bottom of my blog page of all of the products used that has additional stuff that you can use for plaid builder backgrounds that are some of those buffalo plaids that you can start with. And a lot of those are some Echo Park stamps that have some great buffalo plaids in them. If you have any questions about anything on the video today, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer them. And as always, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll look forward to seeing y'all again soon. Bye!